Time to work on the Mercury. Let's all, well, it's just me, but time to work on the Mercury, so cue the music. In much the same way as something is to something, I don't know what I'm talking about. There's really no script. I got the front end aligned at a proper alignment shop because I've got the, well, I went crazy with the trimmer sticking with you. I went to a proper alignment shop to get, an alignment because we put all those new components on the steering on the last episode. If you haven't seen it, there's probably a link to it if you look for it. I don't know how to do it. Prior to going to the alignment shop, I thought it'd be a good idea to lubricate all the new parts. But my grease gun is somewhere in the warehouse where I don't know. I stopped at the Goodyear where I picked up the Cobras and said, hey, have you got a kid who can slide under here and lube this up for me? Because I am coming back to get 2 more tires here soon. And they said, yeah, we can do that. It'd be $92. So, which is about $90 more than it should be. So I said, no problem. So I went to the Jiffy Lube oil change place. I said, how much to get under there and grease it? And the kids that worked there went, we don't have a grease gun. A lubrication shop had no grease gun, and they're under the car to lube anyway. So I went and got it aligned anyhow, and the alignment shop didn't do that either. They say, oh, we don't grease things. We just do the alignment. Which, okay, they specialize, but it's all steering components that require lube. Anyway, I'll vent about it off camera. So I just went ahead and bought a new grease gun. It's an Amazonian special, but it looks fine. And when you're thinking grease, you gotta think Schaefer's. This is extreme pressure lubricant because that's an extreme amount of pressure to put on steering with this sweet, chubby little, anyhow. So we got the lubricant, we have our grease gun, some assembly required. And then I gotta show you what we're doing to the rear. This won't take long. I'll assemble the grease gun, load it up, and do the front, and that'll be quick and painless with any luck. That should do it. I ended up walking over to the vise and sticking this in there, and just so I can use 2 hands and screw it. It's a little easier. Let's dive under here and see if we can get some of this high pressure grease to go in the high pressure areas. While I'm over here, I'm going to go ahead and check the adjustment on this wheel bearing because it seemed like it had a little bit of play in it, and make sure to put grease all over the brake rotor. And then we'll get to greasing the new fittings, which are, here, other end of that, wherever there's a grease fitting, and I'll show you how that works. All right, that's got that taken care of. We got a nice, perfect amount of play on this bearing. Now we'll get to doing some. This is how a grease gun works. You just snap this greasing part on the part that needs grease, and you'll watch this little seal. As you pump in the grease, it will start to expand and swell. And when there it is, you see it moving just a little there. And you don't want to overfill this thing, but you want to make sure it's got enough grease that it, stays greasy. I don't know. Because you can keep pumping it till it starts squirting out everywhere, but there's really no need for all that. You just want to make sure that it has the grease that it needs And I think we're probably, it's starting to seep out of it. 22. When a little bit starts seeping out, that's when you know it's enough. There you go. And that's it, really. It's about a 5-minute job to go through and click on and squirt grease and everything that needs to be greased. Now you can see how it all moves really nicely. That's it. That's the steering done. You can put the wheels back in. Got the front end done. So here's some engineering that has me concerned. This is a key ring. It's a doubled up little piece of wire spring steel. This is about half a key ring. It's a single piece of ring. And it's supposed to hold the car up off the ground. This thing, I'll show you what I'm looking at. Step one is going to be take the back wheels and tires off, get the thing up in the air. You know what, let's get it up in the air and then take the wheels and tires off and the curb skirts and the hubcaps and then at least one of the shocks, and I'll show you what we're dealing with the new shocks. One of the old coilovers. It's from Ride Tech. It's probably very good quality, but it was exceptionally bouncy going down the road. I've looked at it. I don't see any markings to tell me what the spring rate is on this one. They may be color coded. I don't know. I did go ahead and take some measurements to show how much it moves, at what angle they're sitting, and I should be able to figure out when I put the new ones on, if they squish between 25 and 30%, that's what they call the sweet spot of where the shock should sit at ride height, so that you don't top out going over bumps, you don't bottom out going over bigger bumps, I guess. Let me show you how the new shocks go together and why it concerns me so. The shocks I'm taking off are all machined out of aluminum into one big fancy shock body. The new ones are from AFCO, and it looks like a conventional shock. And the springs look, oh, very nice. They come in a little drawstring. Look at that. That's way too fancy for me. And then here's all the adjustment stuff. But in order to keep the threaded part on the shock, you just spread this ring out and it snaps in this little groove right here. And that's supposed to keep the whole car from falling off the thing. It's a half a key ring. I'm sure engineers have figured it all out, but wow. So first thing I have to do is find some kind of pliers to spread this ring out enough to stretch it over this and get it in place. Then we will we'll put a little lubricant on there and put this thing together. I'll show you as I go. I don't have a special tool to spread that ring out, so I'm just going to grind the tips off these snap ring pliers, which I had an extra set of, flatten the outer edges and put a little divot and make a, I'm just going to make a tool, you understand. See, now they've got a flat edge and they're a little more narrow and there's no tip. So I can take a drill bit and put a little divot on either side to kind of hold that ring in place. I'm not sure if you can see it, but now there's a nice little divot, you know, right here. And so when I put the ring on here, it has something to kind of nestle into and try to spread it. I don't know if it'll work, but it's the best I've got to try, so let's just see what happens here. Oh yeah, look at that. Look at that. We can now open this up just enough to get it over the bushings here. Come on, just enough to get it over the bushings. You know what I should have done? I should have lubed it up. That's what I'm gonna go do. There we go. And now it'll fit over this. We'll get the pliers out and it'll, well, might need the pliers again, but you get the idea. It's gonna sit down on this ring here. Should be getting a flathead, I know. There we are. And that's it. This half a key ring with this big gap in it is going to sit in this adjuster, which I will, I'm going to get some lubricant. Stay here. If you bother reading the instructions, which most of you do not, you'll read that Schaefer's Penetro 90 is the preferred lubricant for assembling these parts. Now let's just see how hard this is. Look at that, it slips over. Look at that, it's beautiful. There's a groove in here, and that's where that ring is going to eventually settle into. I'm just going to make sure that it gets seated in there as we go. I'll grab a flathead and we'll get that seated in there. Because these parts are aluminum, you got to be a little careful with them. And so what I'm going to do now is just put the edge of these channel locks on here so that this can situate right on in. So it can situate, so it can slide, so it can just gently ta-da! See how that sits right down in there in that groove? That's fully seated. Now we'll get a little bit of anti-seize to put this adjuster on, and this is what the bottom of the spring will sit on. So let me go get some of the proper for that. Got the anti-seize lubricant here. Don't need much. We're just going to put on, you know, just a little to coat the threads. This stuff gets everywhere. I don't know how it gets everywhere, but it gets everywhere. And now we can run this down, run the adjuster down. I might just put a bit more on towards the bottom. And that's got that nice and coated. The next step is going to be to get the spring on the shack itself and then install the retainer cup. And I have a feeling that's where these cable ties come into it, but I have no idea what they expect you to do with these cable ties. I wonder if that's upside down. Once you've got your anti-seize on here and your adjuster on here, we're going to then slip the spring over. We're going to slip the coil over. I'm going to do it with the part number where I can see it if I ever need to disassemble it. Then this guy here sits like this, and it fits right down onto that. And you throw a little tension on this collar, like such, and then we'll put basically a safety pin to keep it from ever coming off on accident. Now we'll put a little tension on this, equal amount on each one, and we'll get them mounted under the Mercury. Piece of cake. It took a bit of doing to get the first one mounted, but you can see a big difference in the overall length of the shock. This one hangs down quite a bit more on this side. The angle is a little more drastic now on this side, but the hanging from the shock height is now about the same. The manufacturer recommends putting about 1 inch of squish on that spring, which I have not yet done. I'm gonna go ahead and mount the other one, and then we will put that 1 inch of compression on the spring, and then we'll put the weight on the rear end with the jack stands and see how much, how close we are to where that was with these. You understand. Everything's nice and clean. Let's get the wheels back on, put it on the ground, see how it looks, you know, as far as how it looks. Let's throw this thing on the ground and see how much adjusting we have to do. Maybe we'll get lucky and it'll be right on the first try. Yeah, that'll happen. You know, it's not far off. I think the back only has to come up a little bit. Step one is going to be to adjust the tire pressure to where they're the same on both sides, so that at least the tires are the same height. Then I'm going to jack it up on both sides from the body until I get this little piece of green tape right where I want it, height-wise. Take a measurement, stand back, make sure I like how it looks, and then adjust the shocks to that so I don't have to keep going. You get it. Well, it's sitting at the proper angle. It looks like it's way up high in the back and on the camera, but it's almost perfectly level. I'll show you once I get it outside. So I'm gonna measure both sides, adjust the jacks till they're as close as I can get them, and then I'll dial in the shocks to that measurement, and we'll see how it comes out. Welcome back to Hopper's Hot Rods and Man Boob Sweat. This side is about 3/8 of an inch lower than the other side, but the other side is as high as I want it to get, and if I start raising this side, it'll gradually raise the other side too. I don't know if the shock mounts are not welded perfectly, or if the frame is a little off, or if the bodywork itself, if the body lines are not the same on both sides. You know, I could have measured from here. That's probably what I'll do here in a minute. It looks okay from the back. The bumper's not straight anyway. You can see it's tilted. Well, you can't tell, but it's tilted up. It's not centered. A lot of little stuff would need to make it laser straight. You get what I'm saying. I think maybe I'll drive it to Carnegie Hall, see who's singing or performing, or perhaps I'll try to make it all the way to you know, some foreign land like Taco Bell. Let's go around the block, see what happens. I think it's sitting just about perfect. Sorry. That's going to do it for this episode. The next episode, we're going to get under the hood. Actually, we're going to take the hood off and fix the hood. Then we're going to fix some things under the hood, see if we can make this thing fire up and purr and idle and as always, thanks for watching.